In this video, I want to show you how you can cut your bodice front on the bias. So as you can see, the Evelyn has like the option to have a seam down the front of your bodice, and it's a really great way or a great opportunity to kind of play up your striped fabric, so you can make sure that if you cut it on the bias, that you can have a really nice V in the front center, and it just is so sharp looking. So how we do that is we position our pattern piece on the bias, and we use the grain line arrows that are in an X. We use those for just kind of like a guide. I'm not quite sure if you can see this, but there's a yellow and white stripe that I'm using as my fabric, and it's coming up through the pattern piece. So you can kind of see that I'm aligning that arrow right on that stripe. Now, before we kind of cut our fabric out, we want to make sure that it's going to go into a V and not like a upside down V. Of course, that looks fine too, but I prefer it to be like in a V. And so with that, you can see through the pattern piece again, you can see those stripes going upside. So it's like the V is, it starts down below on the seam, and then it just goes straight up, and that is your V. So that's positioned correctly on the fabric. I've also made a little figure that it's really handy, that you can use as well before cutting out your fabric. And I'm just gonna position this here. So again, I'm gonna use my grain line arrow. Yep, that's aligned on the stripe. But also I can use this too. And it shows that if you place it in the corner on the center front, that you can kind of get an idea of where it's gonna go. And I just wanna kind of show that a little bit closer so you can see that. And then position it down on the center seam line. So you can see again that your stripes are going to run parallel to these stripes right here, and therefore it's going to ensure, as you're seeing this diagram right here, you're seeing that the stripes are pointing up towards the arms guy. So that's great. That's going to be your V, so that is perfect. All right, so go ahead and cut out your first front here, and then we'll wait to cut out our second front in a minute. All right, perfect. So you've already cut out the top part. So we haven't gone through both layers, just the one layer. And we want to do that just to ensure that our stripes, we can manually line up those stripes on that center seam. So this is how we do it. If we cut out one piece first, then we can cut out the second piece. So we just open up our fabrics, and then with right sides to right side, so this is, of course, your right side, this is your right side, you're gonna align those together, and then you're going to check out your stripes and make sure that they are going the same orientation as your first piece. So here we go. We're going to, and take your patience here. I mean, it does take a little bit of time just to align your stripes, just so, but you'll have a great finished product if you do. So, okay, let's see here. There you go. And then of course, okay, that looks good. You'll want to kind of double check this. So what I like to do is you can either take your pattern piece or your figure. So say your figure right here. You can of course push it down on the other side. So you're gonna invert it and make it going the other direction. And as you can see, your stripes are still lined up, going in that same orientation. Or do your pattern piece. Make it so that it actually is face down, because you're cutting the fabric, in a different direction now. So the opposite directions for the second side. So as you can see, this little line arrow right there, the cross, you're gonna go ahead and see if your stripes are aligned that way. So that's another way you can check it out. And then one more thing that I like to do before I actually cut my fabric is just fold it over onto each other like that, so that I make sure that my V is actually going in the right direction. So it's going, there's the top, and then of course it pivots and comes back up. So that's perfect. And that's how it's going to be worn, obviously. So that looks great. Perfect. Great job.